What was your I gotta break up with this person immediately moment? Serious. A girl I knew from high school, both from 87, started talking to me, told me she was divorced twice already, but had one daughter of the first relationship. She said the men were to blame, and after talking a little bit, she asked if I'd feel like hanging out and watch a movie. She likes horror movies a lot as well. I said it was okay, and the day before we'd meet up, she sent me a picture of 2 types of clothing with the question, which one should I wear to your family dinner on Sunday? She expected that we were in a relationship because I was going to see a movie at her place and thought it was normal that I introduced her to my family the day after. I hadn't visited my family in a few years and they booked a flight during Valentine's Day week. My ex-boyfriend became enraged because he planned a trip to New York City together. We'd been together for almost 2 years, and not once did he plan anything so much of a dinner. He gave me so much slack about not being a good girlfriend. To this day I still don't believe had any plans, but just wanted me to stay in Chicago because he was extremely possessive. Told me he would ruin my life if I ever broke up with him. Still did, and he never got the chance to do so. Fuck him. I was in college and had just got back to my apartment from a weekend at home. I'd arranged for a guy I'd been on a half dozen dates with to come over and hang out for a bit. I was getting into the relationship and could really see it going somewhere. When he got to my place he was basically frothing at the mouth, screaming at me that he couldn't be seeing me on Facebook hanging out with a bunch of other guys. My sister-in-law had posted a picture of me and my 5 brothers. I explained that to him, but it didn't matter. I'd already made up my mind, and I was done with him. I told him to get the fuck out of my apartment and he took that as an invitation to slam me up against a wall and kiss me. Thank God my roommate was home and came out with a softball bat. Asshole made the only good decision since he got there and decided to leave. Punched a hole in the wall and kicked a door off the pantry on his way out though. I wish I could say that was the last I saw of him, but he went full stalker for a few years. Showed up at different places I lived a few times. Ended up getting a restraining order and having to call the cops a couple times. Then I went years without hearing from him. Then on the week of my wedding he called me asking me to reconsider. Yeah, I'm going to leave the love of my life for a crazy violent stalker. He said it's me or the dogs. Lol. I stayed with her the entire time after she checked herself into a rehab clinic. But as soon as she got out, she invited other patients she met there over to hang out. You're specifically told not to do that because they could lead you back to your addiction or introduce you to new addictions. That's when I broke up with her. When I found out about his wife, she threw a chair at me and after that, took a knife and told me that if I left her she would kill herself right in front of me. I left. She did nothing except text all my exes and all female friends to make sure my life is ruined and that I stay single forever. Well, it didn't work. I was in a really terrible relationship with an alcoholic guy who was all sorts of emotionally abusive, was cheating on me the entire time, and was generally awful. That should have been reason enough to leave him, right? Nope. It was when he woke up, still drunk from the night before, looked at me and said, "I want to put a baby in you," that I knew it was time to go. I don't want children. I've never wanted children. And I definitely didn't want children with that guy. Oof. I'm a physicist, and I work in a laboratory with a few colleges of mine. My GF was 24/7 jealous on that college, so she would constantly call me on my job to check what I was doing, and she even went so far as stalked my coworker. Basically when I found out about that I broke up with her. I used to do criminal profiling for a living. It's not your car tongue or your haircut, it's me. She discovered she was a lesbian. The relationship was already in its terminal stages, but once my ex-fiancé tried to punch me in the face, I left that day. I had been with him for a year. He had some anger issues, but usually it was over things anyone would get angry over, so I never really thought about how intense he'd usually get. Then one day we woke up to the bathroom toilet somehow having overflowed. Toilet water was seeping into the room and of course this had him pretty upset. I scooted up on the bed to sit on the edge and try to help, but accidentally put some of the sheets in the water in the process. He started yelling at me in anger, so I started yelling back. He grabbed a paper towel roll and shoved it into my mouth when he was telling me to shut up, but of course I didn't. After that I instantly knew that this guy was definitely not the one. That's the closest I got to being physically abused, but in retrospect he was emotionally abusive. She stopped getting her periods because of a medical issue and pretended she possibly was pregnant to see if I would take my responsibility. This was something she already had seen a doctor for before informing me, so she was already 100% aware that she wasn't pregnant, but she pretended for weeks that she might have been and forced me to come up with a realistic plan to see if I was a suitable person to have kids with before she told me the truth. When he yelled at me for showering by myself before he got home for work because he assumed if I showered by myself I would masturbate, which he also didn't like me doing if we hadn't had sex. I could only take showers with him from now on. He was dating other people since we were in an open relationship, but he would get angry if I even talked to anyone else. When I said that I was uncomfortable with him dating others and that I wanted to try being exclusive, he lashed out and accused me of repressing a vital part of himself and that I was selfish. Big oof, honestly. I went to lunch with a male coworker to discuss work and he flipped his shit. I ended it a day or two later. He was cheating on me and I found out. I was in the car with a guy who had never expressed any anger and I forget exactly what happened, but I think he had forgotten something at his house and needed to go back. He got so mad he punched the roof of the car and made a nice dent. When he showed up to our third date with an oil painting of me, it was very sweet, but I got so overwhelmed by it. I was 15 and he was the first person I've ever dated that I had a full-on panic attack and told him that this is too much for me. We still speak sometimes. He is a really nice guy. When a girl I was seeing for a few weeks told me she was a nymphomaniac, the anxiety of not meeting her standards in bed was too much for me to handle, so I sort of found a reason to bail. The sad part is, we connected on every level outside of that. What a fucking dumbass I was. She would tell me that she's on the way over to my place, and then I wouldn't hear from her until the next day. She lived about 3 miles away inside a military base. Since I didn't have access to the base as a civilian, I would alternate between sitting in front of my house for hours or driving up and down the streets. The first time it happened I thought I should break up with her immediately, but I gave her another chance. This happened 3 or 4 more times in a span of a few weeks. I don't want to think about what she was doing instead. This was a few years ago and honestly my soul hasn't fully recovered. I dated a military guy my senior year of high school. About a month in, he tells me his life plan: get married to me, have 3 children together, leave for the Marines at age 18. He was 17 at the time, serve 4 years the day he gets out, kill himself, so that I and our 3 children could live off his military benefits. That's it. That was his whole life plan. I was not allowed any sort of say on the matter. It was foiled when he broke his ankle playing basketball because when I told him he needed to go to the hospital, he explained to me that he would not take orders from a woman and proceeded to walk on a broken ankle for 2 weeks. He couldn't run by that time, so I don't think he made it through basic. Serves you right, you crazy bastard. It took me another few months to work up the courage to stop talking to him, as I was genuinely afraid he or his friends would become violent with me if I ended the relationship. I've heard from a few mutual friends that he still refers to me as the crazy ex for leaving him. TL. Doctor, military ex wanted me to be a single mother of 3 by age 22. One of my exes was a very devout Baptist Christian. No big deal. I'm non-denominational Christian myself. One day though, he called me with a shocking statement. He said, and I roughly quote, after some prayer I have decided that my best service to God is to join an order. I asked him a million questions as to why and what he was thinking. Then I asked the final question of which one. His response was the Knights Templar. I laughed it off. Then I cried. Then I broke up with him the next day. I should have broken up at this point, but I didn't, because I was young and stupid, but looking back, I have to have all your passwords, so that I can trust you. You're a sociopath and a compulsive liar. You want me to kill myself.